Before this video starts, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. This is a video about religion, and I'm not trying to kind of shift your views or anything of that nature. I'm just giving you my religious point of view and what I personally believe. Also, I'm not going to be going into very much detail about the religious part of like Christmas and stuff. I'm just going to be kind of talking about my religious views and that whole spectrum of stuff.
Like a spotlight on the glistening winter floor, and I'm thinking of you and how I'm just...
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's Vlogmas video, we are going to be talking about my religious beliefs and thoughts and takes on Christmas and kind of my religious background and all of that good jazz. Yeah, if you didn't know, actually right now on my blog I am doing 8 days of Vlogmas, and yeah, if you want to check out today's blog post, it'll be over religion and different religious beliefs as far as like Christmas goes and what people believe, and kind of also a few other religious type backgrounds, stuff like that. It'll be over religion. I'm not exactly sure what exactly quite yet, but it'll be over religion. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and click the link down in my description below and check out the other days of Vlogmas that I've done over there. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into my religious background and kind of my religious beliefs and what I believe as far as like Christmas goes and all that good jazz. I've actually had a couple people ask me here recently because I did a vlog over like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And I went to like a church and we walked through a nativity scene and all that stuff. So I know a few people have been curious as to like what my religious beliefs are, because I don't really talk about it and I'm not like super religious, so it's not like I'm tweeting about it all the time. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so growing up until about the age of 8, I never really experienced church, and I guess, you know, up until you're about 8 years old, you really don't experience church. Like, you go, but you don't really remember it. As you get older, like, those values and views may stick with you, but you don't really like remember church, you know what I mean? So when I was about 8 years old, I actually ended up going to a Baptist church. They came, picked me up on like a little school bus, or it was a van. It might have been a van, actually. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they came and picked me up, and I went to what they called children's church, and it was a lot of fun. I had a really good time, and I don't really remember it too vividly, but I do remember it was fun. Whatever, I enjoyed it. Fast forward a couple months, I had been going every Sunday, and then all of a sudden they stopped showing up, and I don't really exactly know what happened in that sense, but I know they stopped showing up. So then fast forward probably about 2 years to when I was about 10 years old or so, I ended up going to the same church again, and I was 10 years old, and I enjoyed it once again. I went to Sunday school and all that good jazz. So I was going alone. My mom did not go with me. My siblings didn't go with me. Every now and then my brothers would, but and it was pretty much me by myself. Every now and then a friend would go or whatever. I continued to go. I went like almost every weekend that I could for like 2 or 3 years, probably about 2 years. Before, maybe it was 3. I think it was about 13, give or take. I think it was about 13. Yeah, it was about 13. Obviously, I was a teenager at this point, so I started going to teen jam and all teen night and all that good stuff. So I was now like the adult service, and again, I really enjoyed it. And I think because at that time a lot of different things were going on. My dad was not really in my life, and I didn't really have a lot of friends at school. I was bullied, and I really clung to this church. I don't necessarily know that I clung to the religion part of it. So I continued to go to church. I somehow, like, over the course of like 6 months, got really involved in church. And when I say that, I mean I was going on Wednesday nights, I was going on Thursday nights, I was going on Friday nights, sometimes Saturday nights or Saturday days, and then Sunday. And some days, on Sundays, I would literally be there from the time the morning service started to the time that night service ended. Like, I would literally spend an entire day at church. And I mean, I just clung to that, like that, I don't know, like it was safe or something. I couldn't tell you exactly why, but I did. I genuinely like enjoyed going, right? And so over the course of probably 2 years that went on, I could tell you so many stories, and I don't regret a bit of it because a lot of those stories are very good stories. I made a lot of really good friends those couple of years, and I also have a lot of people that like younger adults, now they're like almost adults, which is crazy to me, that I still follow their life on social media, and you know, it's very cool to have that aspect of it. I will say at that time I did believe in God. I believed in everything that they were telling me, and I did believe in the Bible and all that jazz. Not to say that I don't, but I'll explain in just a moment. So I got to my freshman year in high school, and things changed to say the least. So when I went to high school, I actually ended up going to a high school where pretty much no one that I went to middle school with went. So a lot of the bullying and a lot of the hatred towards me that I had never deserved, but a lot of that got left behind. And also it had kind of died down once like 8th grade came around. So like for my freshman year of high school, I went to high school and I made tons of friends, and I was so happy, and I really was exposed to a lot more as far as like religion goes. I was exposed to a lot more religious beliefs and people who believed totally different than I did. And that really changed how I saw things and how I believed in things, you know, and as a person, I was changing too. And over like a course of like the first semester, I really stopped wanting to go to church. And it was weird because like I wanted to cling to that idea of church so much, so much, but like I just could never believe it. And so I never stopped believing, don't get me wrong, I still believed, but I just didn't know what I believed, and I felt very torn. So I ended up I stopped going to church, and eventually that church did kind of die out, but that was a few years later. So over my high school career, I met people who believed multiple different things, and I personally never really clung to a religion after I stopped going to church. I never really thought about religion. I would get invited to churches, and I would get invited to go to the church, and I would go, and a lot of it didn't make sense. And that's kind of where we are today, is basically I don't know what I believe. Obviously I went to that church, so to some extent I do believe in the whole story of baby Jesus and, you know, celebrating it because it's his birthday, and I do understand that, and to some extent I do believe that, but there's also kind of a point and a thought in my head where like, I don't know, do I believe that? Because if you know, I don't know, it's just, and maybe it is because like I have tons of friends who don't necessarily believe in God and believe in that religion, that I'm more torn, because like I see these different religions and I see these different, you know, thought processes, and I think, how could I believe that, you know, there's only one God? How could I believe, you know, that my God is the correct God? You know what I mean? Like, I do believe that there's a higher power. I do believe that there's heaven, and I believe that there's hell, and I believe that for sure. I do believe in that. I do think that there's a higher power. Do I necessarily believe that you know, it's my only God. No, I read somewhere, I can't remember now, but that, you know, a lot of people do actually believe that, like, when you go to heaven, you have your whole whatever, you see who you believe is your God, right? And so that kind of is an interesting statement. Like, I'm not saying I don't believe in God and I don't believe in church and I don't believe in religion, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily know that I believe that my God is the only God. I think there's one higher power, but I think that you will see who your higher power is. You know what I mean? And a lot of this too is because obviously I believe in law of attraction and I believe in manifestation and I believe in these things that do not fit religion. Okay? Like, all that does not fit in religion at all. Those things are so far from like any form of religious belief or religious thought, I mean, you could get from. So it's hard to believe those things, right? And then also believe in that. So that's where I am on religious. So a lot of people will say, okay, well, if you don't really believe in it, why did you go to a church? Okay, so let's back up. The reason that I went to the church is because to some extent I do believe in God. I would have gone to a Catholic church. I would have gone to a Baptist church or a Christian church. I personally do believe in a higher power, and I do believe in the power of prayer, and I do believe, you know, in the energy, and I do believe that there is some form of prayer is some form of manifestation in some extent. So I do believe that. However, obviously, I don't talk about religion, and I don't talk about my religion, and I don't talk about it. You don't see me going to church ever. And that's because a lot of times I go to church and I hear these stories, and to me the stories don't make sense, and that's because I'm looking at it from a factual sense and from a realistic sense, because I'm very realistic in a sense that, you know, I hear these stories and I could tell you tons of Bible stories, mind you, but I just don't believe them. I don't know, I can't sit here and say that I do believe them, and I can't pretend that I believe them, because I don't. And that's the reality of it, is I don't believe those, so I can't pretend that I do. That's my religious standpoint. This is kind of more of like a rambly video. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really want to go too far into detail about religion just because I personally don't like watching those videos, and I don't think anybody would really want me to explain religion, because Lord, that would be a mess. Like, that would be more of a mess than this video is. Anyways. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and click the red subscribe button right down below. Also, if you want to check out 8 days of Vlogmas, click the link in the description below. And yeah, I will see y'all in my next video.
There's a bright star shining tonight.